Hi, my name is Keith Cooper, Northlight Images, and in this video I'm going to have a quick look at the issue of filters for the Fujifilm TS30 tilt shift lens 30mm. Excellent lens, got detailed review of it and things like that, but I've had quite a few questions asking about how you fit filters to the front of it. Well, there are lots of different options, some better than the others. This is my TSE 24 Canon 24mm, which I use. There's an adapter on it here. Works an absolute treat. I've used it for years on Canon Kit 5DS and before that 1DS Mark III. And it's 82mm filter thread, which means I have quite a collection of 82mm filter fittings. Now, 82mm, it's common for quite a few lenses like that, and I've tested quite a few filters in the past. I'm not a great filter user. I have tested graduated filters and neutral density filters. Neutral density filters I do use for architectural work sometimes, because sometimes I need to blur people. So I'm taking a picture of a shopping centre. I want to give a sense of movement or something like that. Have to be careful with your exposures, because if you do a sort of exposure of a second or so, or 2 seconds, you'll often get what I call the isolated foot problem. And if you do, say, a 30-second exposure and there are lots of people, you will find the one person who hasn't moved in that 30 seconds because they're on their phone or something like that. And of course, everyone else being blurred and one person standing out like that really draws attention to them, which is exactly the opposite effect what you really wanted for it. But anyway, this lens, so I've tested it quite a bit and it's an excellent lens. There is a filter thread on the inside of the end of the lens barrel here. Now that filter thread is actually 80mm, which is a completely non-standard size that I can see for normal filters. Maybe it's used for something, I don't know, but 80mm, I've got nothing that fits it. None of my step-up, step-down rings fit it, anything like that. And the only company I knew that used to do custom step-up rings and things like that stopped doing it a few years ago. You do get with it, you get 2 lens caps. One's 105mm and one's 77mm. Now, to fit this lens cap here, you have to put this ring on the front. I'll be a bit careful with it because I don't want to touch the front element. By the way, the front element protrudes about 1 millimeter or so from it. So if you do find something to fit here, make sure you don't actually touch the front element. It's not a good thing to have your filter touching the front glass when you're fitting it. So we've got this adapter ring here. Well, that looks fairly straightforward. Looks 80mm to 77mm. It would be if only the inside of this ring here were actually threaded. It isn't, it just has a groove on the inside of it, which means that the 77mm lens cap there fits perfectly well. Screws onto that, great. You can't fit anything else onto this. So if you wanted to use it as a straight, you would need an 80 to something adapter. An 80 to an 82 would fit all the filters I've got here. Now the filters I've got here, just to range up, these are KNF ones. I've used these for a few years. This is a useful magnetic one, 82mm, so it won't screw onto that. You fit that and then you just put the filters on and they stick onto it, and it's useful for using neutral density filters. This is an ND1000 if I remember rightly. Yeah, it looks dark enough for an ND1000. That just clips on magnetically. Taking them off on and off when you're using heavy neutral density filters is a bit of a pain. So this is a nice filter, and I've used graduated ones here. So there's one here that takes drop-in flat plate filters. That's another KNF one. I put some links to some of the reviews I've done for these in the notes, but this would apply to any filter. So we can't fit it directly. What about the other various contraptions you get? Well, you get with the lens, and I'm just going to take off an adapter ring I fitted here, you get this ring. This goes from 80mm up to an internal 105mm. And in fact, when Fujifilm lent me this lens, it came with a 105mm clear filter that would fit on the inside here. Similarly, the 105mm lens cap fits like that on there. External fitting on this, I don't know, that must be about 110mm, 108, 110mm external. Why an external fitting? Because you also get a lens hood with it, and the lens hood fits onto that there. So we've got that. This doesn't use that extender ring, because remember the extender ring hasn't got a thread on it. So you would fit this onto there. You could fit that onto it. And there we go, we've got lens cap. So that's 105mm. If you have 105mm filters, then good. But filters like that are not cheap. I don't have a set of 105. Now, I've got some 120mm from a big old Russian lens, but they're absolutely huge. I want to use these. Can I use them? Well, this easily find, this is a step down ring. This one goes from 105 down to 82, so 105 threaded on the outside, so that fits onto there. Just put that onto that, and I can now fit 182mm filters onto it, so I could fit that, but I can't fit this external filter holder because the 82mm thread doesn't protrude far enough out the back, so I can't actually screw it onto the front here. Be very careful with your various fittings and that. Always take care when you're doing this, because it's easy to slip if you're trying to fit things and you're not sure, and you do not want to touch that front element, and certainly not hit it with the edge of a filter or something. But anyway, that will take 82mm filters, so I can put this one on here. But if it's meant for 105, does 82 cause any problems? Is there any vignetting or anything like that? Well, if you use the lens as a straight 24mm lens, there is no vignetting whatsoever. 82mm filters work just fine. What about shift? Now, the example of using it I've got here, there's a picture here. You can see I've shifted the lens upwards to get a view of a tree in. And the problem is, as you shift up, those top corners of the frame are right near the edge of the image circle. Now, I looked using shift like this to see if I could see any vignetting. If you stop down to f32, the depth of field is enough that you can actually see, if you put a pen or something in front like this, you will be able to see where it is, and you are perilously close at the corners. Now, did that make a difference? None that I noted. However, I haven't tested this on sort of like the front of a building where I want detail in that top corner. Now, you're always going to have problems with a shift lens at extreme shift in the corners like that. You're going to lose resolution. Any lens, you could have a lens that costs twice as much as this and you would still lose resolution in it. I didn't notice any effects. I could, if I checked very carefully, potentially see just a little bit of vignetting. But I'm likely to be using this, if I was to use these filters on this, I'm likely to be using these neutral density filters. And with those on extreme shift, it didn't make any difference. The one place where I thought I could just about see it, and we're talking minuscule here, is diagonal shift. Because with diagonal shift, you're pushing one corner of the frame hard up as far as you can get it into the edge of the image circle of the lens for a shift lens like this. Yeah, you might notice it. Similarly, if you attached on the front of this to this 82mm here, if you attached a system like this, which has some depth to it, the filters at the edge may well show up. You may get more of a problem. You wouldn't get a problem necessarily for shift that, but you might get a problem for left-right shift. And that's using, and there's an example up there, that's using graduated filter like that. There we go. That's a step filter and graduated. not one I use very often, but occasionally useful. The problem is with all of these filters like this, graduated filters and things like that, is they rather assume that the line of change of light you want is a straight line, and it often isn't, certainly not in my architectural work. I rarely have uses like this for in my architectural photography. I will take 2 shots if need be and composite them to get the dynamic range if needed. I find filters like this often more trouble than they're worth, but I know some people love them. Say something I will use anyway. So what's the state of play with using filters for this? If you can find an 80mm to whatever size you want step ring, really easy. This is an 80mm to 105. That's fine for 105mm filters. This is a step down. I got this, I think this one came off Amazon or something like that. It was a few quid. It wasn't expensive. That allows me to use 82mm filters with care. Obviously, if I'm using these filters, I can also still use the lens hood that comes with it. And yeah, although the lens is good, keep direct sun off the front element, because that does reduce contrast a little bit, and although it's a minimal flare, if you can stop it just by shading it, then use that. So there you have it. I've tested it with these K&F filters. I have no reason to think it would be any different with any other types of it. So it's just that I've used those for years. You get an awful lot of bits and pieces with the front of this. Hopefully that's cleared up some of the questions people asked, and if you've got any more questions, let me know. Yeah, I know this was never going to be one of my sort of, top visited videos. I mean, it's a bit specific, but that's, if you're new to the channel and you've made it this far through, then the channel is a mix of some quite niche things as well as more general stuff on printing and lenses and stuff as well. So thank you for watching, and bye.